not going anywhere. The Chargers are going to win a bunch of games. You can tell. So I just said, give me the playoff picture today in the NFL, and how accurate do I think it is? So the NFL playoff picture in the AFC, the Chargers a 1 seed, the Ravens a 2, the Bills a 3, the Titans a 4. The Bengals a 5, the Raiders a 6, the Broncos a 7. So my only strong take on the AFC is the Raiders will not be a playoff team. I would put Kansas City somewhere in there. I don't care about the seeds, but I don't see the Raiders as a playoff team. I still think Denver could. I'm not saying they will. But Raiders out, Kansas City will make their way back in. In the NFC, Cardinals a 1 seed, Dallas a 2, Bucks a 3, Packers a 4, Rams, Bears, Panthers. My only strong opinion there, I don't think the Bears with a rookie quarterback will remain a playoff team, and I think Seattle will find its way back in. Now, you're saying, Colin, you're a homer. That is not journalism. This is Big J journalism. The reason I like Seattle is this. Russell Wilson never gets hurt. He finally is. He'll be a fast healer. They say 4 to 8 weeks. My guess is it's 4. It's not leg. It's not groin. It's not calf. It's finger. It'll heal. He'll be ready to go. If you look at Seattle, gets very lucky. They have a bye in 4 weeks. They get a very lucky bye. So the next 3 weeks, they go to Pittsburgh. They host the Saints and the Jags. They're going to beat the Jags even with Geno Smith. So the question is, can they beat the Saints at home or Pittsburgh this weekend? Can Geno Smith do that? There was a big argument in the building this morning. I said yes. Everybody laughed at me. All they have to do is beat Pittsburgh this weekend. Don't think they will. Or the Saints at home. Jameis has his moments. He's a little roller coaster. I think they have a chance to. They will beat the Jags, but they get lucky. They get a bye after that. And I think at Green Bay, Russell Wilson will return. So it's my way too early predictions. The Herd brought to you by Jersey Mike. Subs, be a sub above. And with that, the king of Iowa, Joel Klatt, the voice of college football, is joining us.
Oh,
by the way,
man.
He's got another burner this week in Oklahoma State at Texas. I'll talk about that in a second. So okay.
I mean, being in Iowa for me, because of this show, is heaven.
You were like Elvis.
Yes, exactly.
So
everybody just shouting, like, you tell Colin, you keep giving him the business. We're legal. We're not the fake ID of college. We're legal. And I was like,
well, their best player is a punter. Anywho, now you have him number 2 in the country to Georgia. Now, okay, I'm just going to be Iowa. I love corn. I am not anti-Iowa.
Yes.
But if Alabama played Iowa this morning, Alabama's a 14-point favorite on a neutral field. Penn State, I thought, controlled the game until the quarterback got hurt. I didn't think they were significantly better, but they went to Iowa, and they were better.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. They had a great game plan early with Sean Clifford, but this is what Iowa does. I don't want to take away from the fact that they force you to make a change at quarterback, whether it's via injury or poor play. This is not the first time they've seen a backup have to come in and play quarterback, partly because of the defense. Jack Campbell is the guy who got to him. He's the linebacker. He's a terrific player. Their only 2 losses last year were the first 2 games of the season. During a pandemic, Jack Campbell had mono. Yeah. He wasn't on the field. So, I mean, listen, yes, while you're right, they also did Iowa things. Yeah. They were able to run the ball enough. They were able to play field position. They did some really smart things from their coaching staff. How about Kirk Ferentz taking the chop block penalty? It was on a 3rd down. It would have made it a 4th down. Yep. Normally, if something makes it a 4th down and you're going to get the ball back, every coach in America would be like, yeah, decline the penalty and we'll take the ball. We're never going to give that team the chance to move the chains. No, not Kirk. Why? Because he knew that the 15 yards were more important than the penalty.
Yes.
And so he backs him up, replays 3rd down, ends up getting field position. Then they have to punt again. Torrey Taylor pins him inside the 5-yard line. So 2 series later, they're able to score and actually win the game, partly because Kirk Ferentz is playing the long game, taking a penalty on 3rd down rather than just taking the ball.
By the way, I think it's good when Iowa's good. I like the Big Ten in the middle of the country to have representation.
By the way, Bama just lost as a 14-point favorite. So you're sitting here like, Bama's a 14-point favorite. Like, who cares? They just lost to Texas A&M.
They lose every couple decades. So let's go to that. The Bama loss, which was, again, all these games were great, and they were all separate. So I watched these Texas, Oklahoma,
Unbelievable.
Then I switched the TV to Iowa, Penn State.
Unbelievable.
And then I went over to Alabama. It was like every network had a different game. So
and you still had Michigan, Nebraska in there, which was a great game. But yes, Bama was an incredible game.
Winnable game by Alabama.
Sure.
What do you make? Bryce Young's really good, by the way. What do you make of some of the play calling and the?
Yeah, so I think that the narrative coming out of that game was way too much about the defense not being up to par. And while yes, I mean I think that that's an easy takeaway. This is a defense that's ranked 40th in the country right now in scoring defense at 22 points per game. By the way, it's the first time that they're giving up over 20 points a game since Nick's first year in 2007. Yeah. What you see, though, is that when that happens in this modern day and age of college football, they have chased offense a little bit and done it really well.
Yes.
They had one of the best offenses in the history of the sport last year. But when you don't play dominant defense like they have in the past, your margin for error offensively shrinks.
That's right.
Okay, and in particular, Colin, when you get inside the 10-yard line and the 5-yard line.
Need touchdowns, not field goals.
Exactly. And there were two situations that I think lost the game for Alabama. All else being equal, they had a 1st and goal inside the 5 in the second quarter, come away with no points. They had a 1st and goal inside the 5 in the fourth quarter, come away with 3 points. So there's two situations where you should at least get 10, probably 14 out of that. They come away with 3. Why'd they come away with 3? I actually think it was really poor play design and play calling from Bill O'Brien and really poor execution from some of the players, namely the tight end group, and poor decision-making from Bryce Young. Let me give you a quick example. On the 3rd down play in the second quarter where Bryce Young throws an interception inside the 5-yard line. It's 3rd and goal inside the 5. He ends up throwing a pick. And you could say, like, man, young quarterback making a mistake. Quarterback, this and that. The formation had no movement to it. There was no bunch to the set, right? So the wide receivers weren't close together, and it's man coverage from Texas A&M. There's no rub routes being run. There's no pick plays being run. It's just straight one-on-one matchups with tight windows. That's a terrible play design from Bill O'Brien.
For a freshman quarterback. So they have 3 receivers on one side, 1 on the other. One of the 3 receivers is a tight end. He's running a crossing route across basically the short area of the end zone. The wide receiver should be coming across from that short side to pick his defender, to create space and a bigger window. He went to the back end of the end zone to what? Create levels? You don't need to control the levels of man coverage. You need to control the men of man coverage. And so I'm telling you, folks, Bill O'Brien called a terrible game inside the 5-yard line. It's just true. It's just true. And when he did get to pick plays in the fourth quarter, they didn't know how to run them. They ran into each other. They were too slow. The execution was terrible. That's what lost the game for Alabama. Was really poor play design and poor execution inside the 5. Well, so this week you have Oklahoma State at Texas. Oklahoma State's defense is pretty good this year. The offense isn't as dynamic. Texas is coming off a wild game and a loss, and I do worry about the emotional state.
Sure.
You know, how do they respond? Now, I do think in a rebuilding season, which it is, I think they'll rebound fine. It'll be a very good game. I will say this, though. I've seen Sark at Washington. I saw him at USC and now Texas. He gets the offense right before the defense.
Yeah.
Sometimes he didn't get the defense quite right. But I will say offensively, they're pretty clever. They kind of get the ball to the right people. I kind of like what Sark's doing at Texas.
Well, let me just you bring up Sark. Can I go back to my previous point about Alabama? The biggest problem with Alabama this year is not that they don't have any of those players that all went to the NFL. It's that they don't have Steve Sarkisian. You're talking about the creative, clever, offensive play calling. He's got that. He would have scored inside the 5-yard line as a play caller for Alabama. Now with Texas, he had a great game plan early. They jump all over Oklahoma.
I mean, big.
28-7, and they just couldn't sustain it because their defense is not up to par from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah, those aren't his players.
They're not his players, and so he's going to get a pass.
Yeah.
Listen, it's still honeymoon phase.
Sure.
Even after losing Red River last week, it's still honeymoon phase for Steve Sarkisian, in particular with the guy that I think is the best player in college football on their team, in Bijan Robinson.
Oh, he's different.
He's unbelievable.
He is he could walk right to the NFL and be a top 5, 6. I really believe this.
He
would walk into the league and be a top 5 running back.
And he's going to have to be at Texas for one more year next year because of his age. But so Sark's plan is working. Whether the defense ever gets to the point where they can be relied upon is going to be the ultimate hurdle of whether they can become a great program again or not. because they can't tackle. They cannot tackle. And listen, Oklahoma had a hard time tackling in that game as well, but tackling in space has been such a huge problem. Now, Oklahoma got the defense right enough in the last couple of years under Alex Grinch, where you feel like they're more of a playoff-style contender, and we'll see if that continues. But Texas has got to get to that point, and I think Sark will get to that point. I really do.
I was a pretty effective high school quarterback. We don't have footage of it. You'll have to take my word. But I know a thing or two about it. So
That's big J journalism right
so
there.
Spencer Rattler, I was Joy as my witness. I said, big arm, but I don't get it. He misses a lot of